Keep rolling. Continue.
I never had a problem, right?
Yes.
I could get past you wanting to be with Nelly.
Sounds like you didn't get past that. I'm just being honest.
All right, guys, let's talk about something that's genuinely got us worried. We're diving deep into the rekindled romance and now marriage of Ashanti and Nelly. You know, on the surface, it looks like a fairy tale reunion. But what if we told you there's a far more complex and frankly unsettling story lurking beneath that picture-perfect surface? What if the past isn't just past, and it's subtly pulling strings in their new beginning? Let's rewind to 2003. Imagine the buzz at the Grammy Awards press conference where Ashanti and Nelly first crossed paths. They started dating, right? A decade-long on-again, off-again saga that even though they never screamed it from the rooftops, everyone knew about. But then, around 2013, it all unraveled. The whispers cited being on different pages and those sticky infidelity allegations. They split, and nearly a decade went by. Now, they're back, seemingly giving love another chance, with fans cheering them on every step of the way. But here's the thing. That decade-long silence, that space in between their breakup and this grand reconciliation, it tells a far more intricate, more human story about attachment.
Listen, at the time it happens, any man
Yeah, of course.
is hurt.
Yeah, right.
The chick you are in love with is with this.
Country grandma.
You wanna hear how I found out?
How you found it?
Only on Drink Chat. We saw in the documentary too. So
Yeah. How did you find out, sir?
I was at home.
About the deceptive pull of nostalgia, and yes, about the undeniable grip of unfinished business. Now, let's take a very uncomfortable trip back to October 2017. Nelly was on tour when he was taken into custody in Washington. Why? A 22-year-old college student accused him of an alarming act on his tour bus, which was chillingly parked in a Walmart parking lot. She alleged that after the incident, he pushed her off the bus and even threw $100 at her in the parking lot. Despite being in a long-term relationship with Chantel Jackson at the time, Nelly surprisingly admitted to cheating on Chantel, stating he had unprotected consensual relations with the alleged victim. According to TMZ, Nelly claimed the woman got upset because she thought he was involved with one of his dancers also on the bus. He was released hours later, no charges filed. Prosecutors eventually dropped the criminal case because the accuser decided not to cooperate. But here's where it gets even heavier. She later filed a civil suit, and her court filings included shocking allegations from two anonymous women in England. They claimed Nelly had groped them and acted inappropriately in 2016 and 2017. Nelly and Monique, the initial accuser, settled their lawsuit in September 2018, though the terms were confidential. Nelly's lawyer stated no money was exchanged. Now, Nelly's past behavior, even the publicly admitted parts, paints a revealing picture about his psyche and raises very serious questions about whether Ashanti should truly feel secure in this rekindled relationship.
And there wasn't no Twitter or Instagram back then.
Was at home. Listen to this. This is God wanted me to find out. Was at home. NBA package. I like watching sports. Oh my God, what's this commotion going on in the stadium? We just found out what the commotion is. Nelly has walked in with Ashanti.
When you examine the multiple accusations of sexual misconduct, the admitted infidelity with a stranger on a tour bus, and his consistent deflection of responsibility, a clear, undeniable pattern starts to emerge. Even if some allegations never saw a courtroom verdict, the sheer repetition, that's what's deeply concerning. The fact that all of this unfolded while he was in a 7-year long-term relationship with Chantel Jackson makes it even more unsettling. Rather than attempting to repair the trust he shattered, he simply ended that relationship in the summer of 2021, with no visible sign he'd done the difficult self-work of confronting his own behavior. Psychologically, this pattern of avoidance often signals an avoidant attachment style. For individuals with this style, true intimacy feels threatening, and withdrawing becomes the path of least resistance when conflict or uncomfortable truths arise. And honestly, we're not even going to get into his past arrests for substance use or the other long-standing rumors that have clung to him for years. Fast forward to September 2021. Fat Joe, bless his heart, invited Ashanti to perform some hits during his versus battle against Ja Rule. What he apparently forgot to mention, he'd also invited Nelly to the battle. Towards the end of that online event, Nelly almost broke a hip trying to get over to Ashanti. She later revealed to the Angie Martinez show that it was the first time she had seen or even spoken to Nelly in almost 6 years, making for what she described as a very awkward moment for her. At that point, Ashanti definitely wasn't interested in getting back with him. She told Angie Martinez she was in a happy new relationship. Then, 2022 rolls around. On February 8th, Nelly accidentally uploaded a very intimate video of himself to his Instagram story. He quickly deleted it, releasing a statement to TMZ. "I sincerely apologize to the young lady and her family. This was an old video that was private and never meant to go public." Now, here's the unsettling pivot. Just 6 days later, on Valentine's Day, Nelly and Ashanti linked up in Las Vegas for their first official date.
Okay, yeah, me and Nelly were dating. Irv was salty. Irv would not let me come to the studio to record. Irv was telling everyone not to record with me. Why do I want to stay in that situation? How can I stay in that situation? You know what he said to me?
What?
He said, "Nah, you want to be with Nelly? Go sign a dirty A&T."
While some might see this as incredibly romantic, others would argue it was an alarming jump from public scandal to rekindled love. Psychologically, this swift move from a humiliating public video to a grand romantic gesture with an ex-girlfriend suggests a man who either compartmentalizes his life so effectively he disconnects actions from consequences, or someone who uses big romantic gestures to distract from his missteps. This is sometimes referred to as crisis bonding. When a person feels exposed or humiliated, they may instinctively pull someone close, almost as a shield, to reassert control over their public image and soothe their own anxiety. And for Ashanti, stepping back into his orbit at that exact moment is equally complex. There's a possibility she felt compelled to appear unbothered by his public messiness, a way to signal she was above petty judgments and fully committed to a fresh start. But it also begs a chilling question. Why would anyone choose to begin a reconciliation in the immediate aftermath of such a humiliating controversy? From there, they performed at several events. Then, in May 2023, a source confirmed to Entertainment Tonight that they had officially reunited after nearly a decade apart. Another insider told People magazine they were taking things slow, even though just a year earlier, Ashanti had publicly shared she was ready to settle down and start a family. And then, the big news, Ashanti got pregnant, and they secretly tied the knot in December 2023. When asked about it on the Bootleg Kev podcast, Nelly's reasoning for getting married was illuminating. He stated he decided it was time because he didn't want Ashanti to be a baby mama. He added, "Because we already knew where we were in life. If we're back like this must be what it's supposed to be." On the surface, you might hear that and think, okay, that sounds practical, even protective. But psychologically, it reveals deeper concerns about the very quality of their bond. In adult relationships, secure attachment is almost always marked by clear expressions of affection, genuine emotional responsiveness, and a sense of shared vulnerability. When someone describes a monumental commitment like marriage without referencing love, security, or even simple closeness, it can strongly indicate an avoidant attachment style. These individuals often feel deeply uncomfortable with vulnerability and prefer to frame profound life decisions in detached, almost logistical terms.
Hey, I made those Ashanti records.
Can you rock with me?
Oh, I made those records. You know what I'm saying? Like, she wrote them, but she wrote them with the help of me telling her what to write. And all of y'all, whoever knows me, I don't lie. I don't lie. I'm not a liar. You know what I'm saying? But I helped make those records.
Right.
Nelly's reasoning here was almost entirely about optics, managing public perception to avoid the perceived shame of Ashanti having a child out of wedlock. When choices are driven by a need to avoid shame or what others might think, they are inherently defensive, not wholehearted. Now, this doesn't mean Nelly doesn't care about Ashanti, but the stark absence of emotional language, Words like love, respect, or joy raises serious questions about whether this relationship was truly rebuilt on a foundation of genuine emotional connection. Marriage should never be a strategy to manage perceptions. It should be a choice rooted in mutual devotion and absolute clarity. Otherwise, it risks becoming a mere transaction rather than a true partnership, leaving both parties feeling unseen and unfulfilled. Think about this. Nelly said he married Ashanti because he didn't want her to be a baby mama. Yet decades ago, he had absolutely no qualms about fathering 2 children, his daughter Chanel and son Cornell with his then-girlfriend, long before he ever considered putting a ring on anyone's finger. So what fundamentally changed? Why is marriage suddenly this badge of honor he felt compelled to bestow on Ashanti when he never offered the same to the mother of his first children? From a psychological lens, this shows just how much a person's self-narrative evolves with age and circumstance. Today, Nelly is a 50-year-old man whose public reputation has taken several hits. It's entirely possible that marrying Ashanti wasn't just about protecting her image, it was a strategic move to rehabilitate his own. It also subtly hints at selective principles. Ashanti is a global superstar with an impeccable, polished reputation. Marrying her provides a shield from judgment for both of them.
Everyone's like, why he keep talking about Ashanti? So let the people know why you keep talking about Ashanti.
Because that's why. You asking me.
That's a
Did
very...
I bring Ashanti up, or did
No.
you just ask me? Why you keep talking about Ashanti? Do you did it?
I did it right now, but in
Okay.
the song.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I wish Ashanti nothing but the best. I have nothing. I'm not hooked on Ashanti.
In ways his past relationships simply never required. Then, the final big announcement. Ashanti gave birth to their son, Kareem Kincaid Haynes, on July 18th, 2024. And in May 2025, Peacock dropped the bombshell news that the couple would be starring in a reality show, Nelly and Ashanti, We Belong Together. On the surface, a couple signing up for a reality show seems innocent, even fun. But if you scratch beneath that glossy surface, more complex psychological and relational dynamics are almost always at play, especially for public figures with extensive histories. According to psychologists, putting your relationship on public display can be an unconscious attempt to solidify or prove its legitimacy to the outside world. It's almost like saying, if people see it, it must be real. This phenomenon is sometimes called performative intimacy, where the couple's bond becomes a kind of public performance they hope will convince themselves as much as their audience. So while fans might genuinely see this reality show as proof they've finally found their forever, psychologists would caution that public exposure is just as likely to fracture a relationship as it is to strengthen it. This makes the choice to televise your love story less about rock-solid confidence and more about a hidden need for reassurance. And almost as soon as the show premiered in June 2025, those cracks in their marriage became glaringly obvious. The show documented Nelly grappling with a huge decision, whether to perform at Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration. Viewers quickly noticed that his deliberations seemed focused almost entirely on his own ambitions and the chance to be part of a historic event, rather than genuinely considering how his wife felt about it. Meanwhile, it was crystal clear that Ashanti and her mother deeply disagreed with the idea. Yet, Ashanti visibly tried to maintain the facade of a supportive wife, even as her body language screamed hesitation. Psychologically, this dynamic can quietly, but deeply, damage a relationship. When significant decisions are treated as individual pursuits, rather than genuinely shared choices, it dramatically reinforces emotional distance. Over time, partners begin to feel unheard, unseen, or like their values simply don't carry equal weight.
I can't get over her. That's none of that.
You're just telling your story.
I got paid to do a documentary on my life and on my... If I didn't talk about Ashanti, you'd have been like, what type of bullshit is this that he didn't speak about? She's too important to murder Rank and his life. They tried to Me Too me.
They didn't try to Me Too you.
I read the comments.
What the comments say?
You know what the they says. Stop it, Shade Room. Stop it, Shade Room. Y'all the shadiest mother.
This pattern, where one person relentlessly prioritizes their goals, while the other suppresses their discomfort to keep the peace, almost always breeds quiet resentment. And when that resentment remains unspoken, it very rarely stays buried for long. In another shocking episode, Nelly openly declared his plan to be a hands-off parent until their son was old enough to communicate his basic needs. Some might argue that at 50 years old, Nelly is simply exhausted by the demands of infant care, especially with adult children already. But for many, his attitude came across as dismissive and profoundly insensitive. By framing the newborn phase as entirely Ashanti's burden, he effectively distanced himself from one of the most critical periods of bonding in a child's development. And let's be real, no amount of money or hired help can truly change that fundamental disconnect. Psychologically, this dynamic inflicts damage on multiple fronts. For Ashanti, shouldering nearly all the early caregiving responsibilities can lead to intense feelings of isolation and resentment. New mothers already face immense pressure to do everything right, and when their partner steps back, it tragically reinforces the idea that raising a child is solely her burden. This can deeply erode a sense of partnership, leaving her feeling unsupported during an incredibly vulnerable time. And for the baby, consistent nurturing and interaction from both parents are absolutely critical. Developmental psychologists confirm that early bonding lays the crucial foundation for secure attachment, which profoundly impacts a child's emotional regulation and their fundamental sense of safety. When a father consciously delays involvement, it risks weakening that vital early connection. At first glance, Ashanti and Nelly's story might feel like a storybook fairy tale. But here's the harsh truth. Love alone doesn't erase the deep-seated patterns we carry, or magically resolve the unfinished business we bury. Reunions often feel like closure, but more often than not, they become a potent chance to relive old dynamics, all under the seductive illusion of a fresh start. If there's any crucial lesson to be drawn from their very public journey, it's this. True love isn't just about finding the person who feels comfortably familiar. It's about daring to confront the uncomfortable parts of yourself that feel safest in dysfunction. It's about honestly asking, are we together because we've truly done the transformative work to become different people? Or is it simply easier to pretend the past never happened?